Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I welcome you all to the sixth lecture of the course of Data and Computer Communication. My name is Engineer Jafar Ali and I'm instructor for this course. So let's start with the recapitulation of the previous lecture, lecture 5. In that lecture we have studied about the motivation of modulation, that what is modulation and why do we need modulation. We saw that you have a bit stream of bits that is coming into the physical layer, and you want your these bits to be transferred through the air or the channel via in a form of signal. So basically, if you want to convert that the bits into analog signals, or you can say digital signals, we will learn that in the future classes as well, that how you can convert that system or that bits into a signal. So one of the technique is known as modulation, where you convert the bits into signals, and the type of modulation in which you use digital signals is known as digital modulation. And we saw several parameters that are involved in this process. The first parameter was known as bit rate, that the number of bits that are passed in 1 second or that are transferred or transmitted in 1 second, that is known as bit rate. Baud rate is the number of signals actually that you pass in, or that you transmit in 1 second. So there is a high chance that in one signal there are multiple bits, one bit, die bit, try bit, and we have discussed many other forms of that data as well. So bit rate is always less than or equal to baud rate is always less than or equal to the bit rate. Signals may be less, but the information stored in that signal in a form of bits may be greater than that signals actually. So the third parameter that we discussed about was a carrier frequency, and we learned that using just a small carrier frequency, a high frequency, you can actually transmit your data to higher altitude, farther and higher altitudes as well. So if you want to transfer your data to a farther distance, you actually have to superimpose your this carrier frequency, your baseband signal onto this carrier frequency, so that the overall frequency of the signal gets higher, and the transmitted signal is transmitted in towards your destination that is far from your source. We also saw some different techniques that you can use for the modulation, and we discussed about binary shift keying, and we saw about the three different types, that is amplitude, the frequency and the phase. And you know that the signal comprised of three physical quantities. One is the amplitude of signal, one is the frequency of the signal, and the last one is the phase of the signal. So you can actually play with these terms to modulate your signal actually. And you have two options, either to go for binary or either to go for M-array. And binary includes two output options, that is a higher or a lower. You can see that, let's say I am talking about amplitude, binary amplitude shift keying BASK. So it means that I will have option of two amplitudes, that one is low and other one will be higher. Again other one will be low, that is 0, and other one will again higher. So you actually have two options, either to go for higher amplitudes and lower amplitudes. You have two options, that is known as binary. Similarly, if you go for frequency shift keying, that is binary, you can have two output frequencies. One is higher frequency and one is lower frequency. Let me show you that what do you mean by this. I mean that you can have two frequencies. One is, let's say, lower frequency, and one is a, let's say, higher frequency. So you can see that then again there will come, let's say, lower frequency. So you see that we have two options of frequency. One is higher, f1, this is lower frequency, and this is f2. Let's say f2 is greater than f1, so f1 will be less than f2. So we will have two frequencies. So this is basically binary FSK shift keying. Similarly, if you want to have two phases, you can use BPSK actually. Let's say 0 starts from this thing, and when it comes 1, the amplitude gets changed, the phase gets changed, but the amplitude and the frequency remains constant. So you see that this is the phase difference of 180 degree, and you can have many other options as well. So if you are with two options, you are left with two options. You can use binary, and you have a greater system if you want to go for a higher outputs value. So you can use M array shift keying. And in the last class we also did some performance analysis as well, that how did you which system of in amongst these is much better than the other. So in today's class, we will be learning about some major topics about the channel that the medium you have. So this medium is known as transmission medium, or the channel is known as transmission channel, and this is the thing at which through which the data is transferred actually physically onto the network towards the destination. If you have transmitted your let's say your signal through a wire, so this is your source, and this is the medium through which the data is actually carried towards the destination. Let's say this is your destination, so this will be your transmission medium through which the data has been carried away. So we will see about different types of classifications and their specifications. Specifically, we will learn about the specifications of classifications of media, that is guided media and unguided media, and we will also look at some interference and wireless transmission as well. That why do we prefer to go for wireless nowadays, but what are some quantities that are to be noticed or countered before going actually into the wireless transmission as well. So let's start the transmission media. Transmission media are located below the physical layer. You know that if you have applied the modulation after the physical layer, and then you transmit the data onto the channel. So this is your transmission medium or channel. Excuse me. And computer use signals to represent that data. I have already told you, due to the modulation effect, the bits are converted into signals, and these signals represent some kind of data. And we learned about that how you can present 1 or 0 in the form of signals by using the modulation technique ASK, ASK, FSK and PSK. Using these techniques you can transmit your data, or you transfer your data from bits to signals, and basically these signals are then transmitted over this channel, that is transmission medium. So this transmission media is basically the carrier, and it carries the signals in the form of electromagnetic energy. You know that what is basically energy is form of electric pulses or anything similar to that. If in case it's light, so it will be a light wave. So transmission media in digital communication, the transmission media is the pathway. I've already told you that carries the information from a sender towards the receiver, and we can use different type of cables or waves to transmit data, and we will look that in further detail in the coming slides, inshallah. Data is transmitted normally through electrical or electromagnetic signals, and if you are using optical fiber, you can use your data your signal to be in the form of light wave. So there is another form, either it can be electrical or electromagnetic or light wave as well. So these are the classification of a transmission medium. It can be normally classified into two types. The first one is guided media, and the second one is unguided media. Guided media means that you have a guided path from the receiver, from the transmitter towards the receiver. So you have a physical cable, or you can say a physical wire that is actually tied between the transmitter and the receiver. And there are there are many types of actually guided media, but we will be learning three major types. The first one is a twisted pair cable, the second one is coaxial cable, and the last but the most important one is fiber optic, which is more important because of its application, because of its excellent performance. That is why I have mentioned that as well. And in the unguided media, we will look about different free space models in the coming slides. So be with me. So the first form is basically guided media, and it provides a firm path, a physical path, a tangible path from a transmitter towards the receiver, and it can be either twisted pair cable or coaxial cable. or any fiber optic cable. So the first one is twisted pair cable. You can see that this is the kind of the cable, and it is twisted around one another, and the actual cables or the connectors are inside this core. This is the core, or you can say the insulation, which actually prevents the noise, prevents the conductors from the noise. So if you want to reduce your noise, you can have a good quality twisted pair cable which have a good insulator over it. You can see that this is the pink one is the insulator, and the gray one is inside that insulator is basically the conductor that actually carries the data. So basically this is the conductor is of mostly copper based, and the insulation is normally of plastic, and they are twisted around each other so that the data cannot be have some noise because of this insulation that is that you have provided over that conductor. So let's see the operation of this twisted pair cable. This There are two wires, you see that, and one wire is have to be carry some data or signal towards the receiver, and the second wire will be used as a ground reference. You know that in order to make your data flow or signal flow, you have to provide two polarities. So there are two polarities. One will be of signal, and the other one will be for ground reference. And twisting, if you increase the uh, if you increase the if you, they are, you can see that they are twisted around each other, and the more you twist, there is a more chance that the noise will be divided among these two conductors at the same level. So you see, let's say these are your two cables, and this upper cable is carrying your signal, and the lower cable is actually carrying your data, sorry, is your ground reference. So if you do not make them twist, and you transmit these lines, or propagate these lines in parallel with each other, so if the noise comes on the signal wire, all the signal will be get corrupted. But if you start twisting the cable, the more you twist, the more chances that if the noise will come, the division of the noise will be on both of these. So less of your data will be corrupted. So this is very good approach. Twist your cable more and more so that the noise gets divided among the two cables equally, so that your data will be that you will be losing will be of less size. So therefore the number of twists per unit length determines the quality of the cable. If the twist per unit length is high, the quality is high, and if the twist that you have done on your cable is less, so the quality will be less. So twisted pair, let's see the performance of this cable. It can be used for both analog and digital, but for analog signals, you will be needing amplifiers and to regenerate that signal or enhance the energy of that signal of every after 5 to 6 kilometer. And if you are using a digital signal, so you will be needing a repeater every 2 to 3 kilometer to reboost or re-energize your signal actually. And there are some more advantages that this cable is cheap and it is easy to work with. It has short range. You cannot carry data to hundreds of or thousands of kilometers, so it's at short range. It has a limited bandwidth because you see that this is a very small cable in size, so that is why there is limited bandwidth. So limited bandwidth means limited data rate, and mostly it is susceptible to noise. It means noise and interference can damage your signal or your data inside that cable very much. So these are some properties and discussions about twisted pair cable. And there are some applications of twisted pair cables. Mostly you can see that this PTCL or any PSTN network, public switch transfer telephone network, mostly use these type of twisted pair cables. And the reason because they do that is of two. They have limited range, transmission range, and the second one is they do not worry about the interference, because this work is mostly underground, or they use DPs. to transmit their signals. So that is why they are not concerned about the noise factor. So they mostly use this kind of twisted pair cables, and it is also used within the buildings. If you know that you are using this inside the building, so you won't be needing any higher things that you will require to minimize the energy. So that is where you can use this cable as well. There are two types of twisted pair. One is known as UTP, that is unshielded, and the other one is known as STP, that is shielded. This is basically two types. One is shielded, and other one is unshielded. The first one is, let's say, a UTP, and this is STP actually, shielded and unshielded. So in unshielded pair cables, you don't carry a worry about the shield. You don't have the shield on the twisted pair cable actually, and it is very easy to install because of this thing, but it has weak immunity against noise. So you don't have any shield. Unshielded, I am talking about unshielded. You do not have any particular shield on the wire that is carrying your data, except the insulation. So this is not very good in terms of noise and in terms of quality performance. And mostly I have already told you that applications like telephone subscribers or DSL lines, they mostly works on UTP. But if you get a higher customer who wants to pay a higher quality, who wants you to give him a high quality, so you can give him STP, that is shielded. So there are seven categories of UTP, and the higher category means higher the level of quality of insulation or shielded. So these are, you can see that these are some, there are seven categories of this UTP, and the first one is have very low data rate because of it's not that much good quality. The more category, the higher category means the higher quality, and the higher quality means higher price as well. So it can provide you up to 600 Mbps theoretically if you have invested a lot of money, and you can use that even in your LANs, local area network as well. But this thing will cost you very much. So these are the some connectors. This is RJ45, this is female connector, and this is your male connector. And you have to you have already, I think, studied in the previous course, or if you have not, you will be studying this in the lab as well of this course. And this is RJ, and RJ stands for this registered jack, and this is basically used to check the connectivity. So this is your RJ45 female, and this is your RJ45 male. So you can see that these are the overall pros and cons of this UTP. It is mostly affordable, it is most compatible cabling, but it has external noise or interference that is affecting it very much. So that mostly people are afraid of to use these cables in open space. The other thing is basically known as shielded twisted pair (STP), and you see that there is a metallic shield over the thing, and the more shield you want to have, you can see that this is a silver sheet. I've actually put it the diagram over here. This is the silver sheet over that twisted pair cable. You can see that this is the twisted pair cable of insulation, and inside this insulation there is a conductor, and over this all these things you have put it some shield, and after that there will be some plastic cover in the last. So you see that this is very much shielded, and the more shield you have, the more protective your device will be, your more protective your channel will be, and the less noise will be affected, will be affecting your data actually. So it is, you can see that there are some properties, or you can see pros and cons. This is shielded, and this is faster because of less susceptibility to noise. But the disadvantage is again that because it is using shield, so it will be more expensive, and it will be harder to handle because it will be heavy and thick as well. The second type is basically coaxial cable, which you normally use in your cable wire as a cable wire. So you see that this is a cable which carry a signal of higher frequency ranges. There is another inner conductor there is another conductor, and outside that conductor there is basically a layers of shield. So you can see that there is insulator, and there is again a shield, and there is again an insulator, and there is again a plastic cover. So you see that inside there is only one wire that will carry your multiple signals. This is one conductor, and there are two insulators and in between there is one shield as well, and this whole thing will be covered in a plastic cover. So it is very much good in terms of noise susceptibility. It will not having much noise unless and until you put some joints, or you remove some shields, or insulations from it. It will be very good in terms of performance. So you see that it is more versatile medium. It can be used for cable network, I have already told you that, and it can be used for long distance data transmission, and it can carry up to 10,000 voice calls simultaneously, and it is mostly used to short distance computer system links, and it can also be used for locally LAN system. You can also use that in LAN system. And these are some more properties of this coaxial cable. You can study it by yourself. This is basically, you need higher amplifier for every few kilometer, and it works in higher frequencies. You can see that 500 megahertz is higher frequency, and if you are using digital signals, you will have to place repeaters, and it will also provide higher data rates in terms of digital signals as well. So there are some categories of this coaxial cable. There are three categories actually. We are discussing three categories. The one is RG11, the second one is RG58, and the last one is RG59. And there are some impedances of that cable actually. And there is the applications that if you want to use cable TV, you can use RG59. If you want to use for Ethernet, you have two options. One is thin and another one is thick. So you can go either with that. And this RG stands for Radio Government, and this is basically a standard body, and that has placed the name of RG59, RG58, and RG11. So coming towards some advantages and disadvantages of this cable, there are some pros. That is, this wire is basically easy to install, and if you want to extend it further in the future, you can do very easily. And it has not that much susceptible to noise, but it has some moderate level of electromagnetic interference. And there are some also disadvantages of this coaxial cable. The cons are include that there is only single wire, and if this single wire is broken, you can lose all the network. Your entire network will be down because of the broken of this breaking of this cable. So if your cable is broken, your all system will be failed, and your network will be down. So the another disadvantage is of its cost. It has a huge cost, capital cost, one-time cost, that you will have to tolerate or bear for the first time. But it is too much as compared to the other shielded pair that we have discussed in the previous slides. The last thing is that it has a high maintenance cost as well, because you know that it needs basically boosters and amplifiers or repeaters every several kilometers. So it will be having a much cost of maintenance, because there will be sometime errors in faults in the wire. There will be sometimes faults in the booster or the repeaters. So you will be having a much cost of maintenance as well. So, but the thing is that of quality, it provides you higher quality as compared to the shielded pair or the unshielded pair, UTP, or you can say twisted pair as a whole. The last cable is very much interesting. This is known as fiber optic cable, and you know that this fiber optic cable is basically made up of glass and plastic, and it use light energy to transmit your signal. And this is the combination of different components that provide you. So the inner thing is basically the glass, or the this thing, glass or plastic core, and there is a cover of you can see the cladding of is over here. So this is surrounded by a plastic coating, that is cladding, and after that there comes a plastic or a plastic buffer or plastic material, and after that there is different material that is, I cannot completely pronounce. This is DuPont Kevlar, and this is used for strength because you know that this is a glass. So if you will twist the cable a little bit, it might be broke. So to prevent that, you have to put some material that increase the strength of the glass. So that is why you use this material, that is DuPont Kevlar. And in the last there is outer jacket, which secures all the inner materials from the environment. Okay, so now let's see how this optical fiber is actually working. In this, for this you need to have to understand the principle of total internal reflection, TIR. You know that if you strike a light to a medium, so it has two options: either to go inside that medium that is less dense, or it can fall back inside that material. It will be reflected back. So you want your data to be stay within the medium, that is your glass. So you strike at such an angle that the light don't gets out of this medium. Instead it comes it is reflected back inside the medium. So the angle at which you strike the light and the light is reflected back is known as critical angle, and this concept is known as total internal reflection, where you force the light to stay in within the material. So this is known as critical angle. So this is the phenomena that is working behind the concept of fiber optic communication. This phenomenon is known as TIR, or you can say total internal reflection. And there are several applications for this fiber optic communication. You can use it for telecommunications, for LANs, for cable, for CCTV, closed circuit television, or you can use it for medical education, and there are many multiple purposes. And you know that fiber optic is having a highest quality among all the mediums that are used in today's date. So you can see that there are some advantages, and the list of advantages is not limited. There is a huge list of advantages. The data rates are touching the skies, that is 100 Gbps. There you need the cost is very much the maintenance cost is low, because you do not need repeaters at every few kilometers. Even there are you can use it after tens of kilometers. It means that either 50 or 70 can use a repeater at a very large distance. So their size is small as well. They have lightweight, they are lower attenuation, and this is because light, so noise will not be of much trouble in this case. But the disadvantage is again the same. It needs a higher cost, initial cost, and expertise as well. Not every person will be able to find that critical angle, because I have told you that you require to strike a light at a critical angle. But how you will find that critical angle, and for that you need some specialized person to be operating this system. So there are several modes of fiber optic communication. You can use multi-mode, single mode, and in multi-mode you can have step index or graded index. And this is the different modes that are given to you. Now, what is transmission impairment? The transmission impairment is a good topic in which you discuss about the imperfection of the transmission medium that causes the signals impairment. And there are three causes of impairment. The first one is attenuation, that your signal your signal loses the energy because of the transmission. And the second one is distortion, that your signal changes the shape. And the third one is noise. Noise is thing that you do not want to be in your signal. It can be either produced due to thermal reason, or any crosstalk, any noise, or any machine is running behind you. So this is noise. So there are three impairments, the causes of impairments that you are facing for transmission impairments. Now coming towards another topic, that is unguided media. This is also known as wireless media, and this is known as unguided because of the reason that the direction is not guided in one direction. You have direction in multiple. You have your signal is basically directed in multiple directions at the same time. Let's say this is the fixed signal of for Wi-Fi. You know that this signal for Wi-Fi. This is the signal actually for Wi-Fi, and it is not in one direction. It is basically covering some area. So if your antenna is omnidirectional, so your signal will be broadcasted in the fourth direction, that is 360 degree. So you see that the data is not guided data, or it is basically propagated in multiple directions. So there are three types of this kind of guided unguided medium. The first one is ground propagation, the second one is sky propagation, and the third one is LOS, that is line of sight. So the ground propagation means that the radio waves travel through the lowest portion of the atmosphere, touching the earth. It is the lowest layer you use. Basically this is your, let's say, tower, and this is your sky. So the lowest layer of the sky will be used to transmit your data. This area will be used. So this is known as basically ground propagation. And the sky propagations mean that you use ionosphere to transmit your signals. So you send the signal to the upper layer from this ground propagation layer, and the layer is striking back from the ionosphere and it reaches the ground. So this is known as sky propagation, where you touch the ionosphere for a rebound or reflected effect. And the third one is line of sight. You have a direct sight from the transmitter towards the receiver, and you do not have any obstacle or building between them. So if you do not have any medium or obstacle between them, and you have a clear view from the transmitter towards the receiver, you are having a line of sight propagation. So there are some frequency bands that you do not need to remember, but have a look over it. There are some bands: VLF, very low frequency, middle frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, super high frequency, extremely high frequency. So these are the ranges, and there are the propagation models that are used according to the range. You see that, if you want to have extremely high frequency, you will have to use line of sight, and this is basically done using radar or satellite applications. So there are other waves that are involved in unguided medium, and this is known as radio waves. And you know that this radio waves is omnidirectional, that is traveled all of 360 degree, and the ranges of frequencies that it covers is basically from 3 kilohertz to 1 gigahertz. And the benefit of using these radio waves is actually that it can penetrate through buildings very easily, and you can use that indoor as well. So this is the example for which you are using a mobile phone. This is because of the evolution in the radio waves, because you can have signals into your mobile phone inside your home as well. So this is because of this radio waves, because it can penetrate the buildings very much easily. And what are the antennas? These are the devices that are used to convert high frequency current into electromagnetic waves. So if you want to convert your current into wave, for that you need to have an antenna. And similarly the vice versa, if you are receiving at the receiving end, you want to convert your electromagnetic wave into a high frequency current or any signal. So that is where you use a receiving antenna. And the examples are basically dish antenna, horn antenna. The most important was one time was Yagi antenna. You can also search that Yagi antenna. It was installed in this shape. So if you remember, so it was having some shape like this, like a popcorn, you can say, like a lollipop. You can have this Yagi antenna. Search this on Google as well, YAGI, Yagi antenna. You will have a look on that. And this is the microwaves. This is used where you want to cover some large area and there are no obstacles in the path. Microwaves are unidirectional, and they are having a frequency from 1 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz. So you see that there is a huge difference between a radio wave and a microwave. The radio wave starts from 3 kilohertz and go to 1 gigahertz, but microwave starts from 1 gigahertz and goes to 300 gigahertz. So there are two types of microwaves. One is terrestrial and one is satellite. So these are the some few examples, and there is a small Also, there is a type of radio that wireless transmission that is known as infrared, and it is basically short range devices where you want it cannot be penetrated. The infrared signals can penetrate the wall, and the ranges of frequencies is from 300 gigahertz to 400 terahertz. You see that this is a huge amount of frequency that is working in a form of infrared, and it is used for short wave communication. It cannot, because you know that it can propagate through walls, so there should be a less distance between the transmitter and the receiver. So you have to place transmitter and receiver very close so that the communication can occur in a form of infrared wave. And for this communication you do not need any license to acquire, and this is basically done in TV remotes or any remote purposes. Let's say your TV remote or your AC remote or any remote that you use in your households. So this was all the things that we discussed today. We started with the transmission media. We discussed about different classification of transmission media. We also looked at the types of twisted pair, that is STP and UDP. This is basically shielded and unshielded twisted pair. And we also look at their applications as well. We saw about the coaxial cable. We learned about their pros and cons. Similarly, we have done some homework in fiber optic, that how this operation of fiber optic is actually working using total internal reflection. After that, we looked at three transmission impairment causes of three impairment that is occurred in the transmission. Then we learned about unguided media. We learned about different radio waves, microwaves, and infrared waves. And this is a topic I will teach you in the class as a bonus topic, that what is interference in wireless communication and how you can try to overcome this thing, because you know that transmission interference in wireless transmission is too high. So how can you reduce that? We will have a debate on that in class, inshallah, as well. So that's all for today. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask. I will be looking forward so that you can clear your concepts. So I have two suggestions for you. The first one is write the questions that you have in your mind right now on a question, on an answer sheet, on a white paper, so that you can ask me that questions, and you will also get +1 if you ask some good question. And the second thing is, if you are unable to attend the class for any reason, let's say you have some reason that is much more enough than this class. So if you are not able to come to the class or join the class on time, so you can put forward your questions or your queries on my email as well. You have my email address. I have mentioned the email in the slides as well, and you already have my email, so you can email me your questions. I will be very happy to have your questions, and I will answer you in the class or by email as well. And in the last, I will say, the more you ask, the more you learn. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the class. Allah Hafiz.